Hi friends, Sergeant Host Eric here.
What does your type police imported blah 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 be up there? Can't you just take the thing and
Because, I could do this, I
This
get.
is just
Well,
really
I don't know how to make it go. It's a separate window. I can't. I, I, what do you want me to do?
can't do like a watermark or anything.
Kim, just. Here, let's do this then. I'll put her over this, like so, to cut off some of that part. And then. That'll help a little bit.
It's a little unprofessional, but that's okay.
Kim, this is a professional police force.
Oh, okay.
We do things for effectiveness, not for appearance. This is not an aesthetics force. We go around and make everything look all nice and pretty. This is all about making sure people out there are the types that they say they are.
Okay.
Uh,
You might
boy.
want to put some pants on.
Yeah, I'm typing today from the waist up, so I don't need any pants.
Okay.
Alright, now this chick here, I pulled her over right away when I saw her because I looked in that window and I saw a face that said INTP. And then I looked at her type indicator and she claims to be an INFJ. I know what you're saying. Don't phenotypically profile people. Like, just because you look like an INFP doesn't mean you're an INFP because that's not definitive. You gotta really get into it and look a little deeper. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't be pulling over suspicious characters. And frankly, coming at the gates, she's a suspicious character. Let's start this video. I've watched about 5 seconds of it before I started over. You're gonna see what happens right away. She starts making excuses. I pull her over. She's like, "Now look, a lot of people say I'm not an INFJ." What does that tell you?
Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about the INFP personality and my thoughts as an INFJ. As someone who has, it doesn't happen that often, but I have seen in the comments that people think that I'm an INFP. I actually find that to be a compliment because I really admire INFPs. I've had quite a few close friends that are INFPs growing up, and I still have a lot of INFP friends, but they are very different than.
So far, she sounds like an INFP, and she seems like she's like Winona Ryder-ish. Winona Ryder is a famous person that's a good example of an INFP. Let's proceed.
INFJs. Although if you look at just the letters, you're going to think that it's just the P and the J that's different. This is a very wide misconception that people, it's not really a lot of people's fault because they may not realize how different INFPs and INFJs are. But if we're talking about cognitively, INFPs lead with introverted feeling, which is FI. Their secondary function is extroverted intuition, NE. Their tertiary function is introverted sensing, SI. And their final function, or their fourth function, is extroverted sensing, SE. Not extroverted sensing, SE. That's the fourth function for an INFJ. INFP's fourth function is extroverted thinking, TE. Whereas the INFJ, I'm just gonna say it really quickly, their functions are first function, NI, second function, FE, third function, TI, and fourth function, SE. So just right off the bat, if we're thinking in Myers-Briggs terms, that those are not the same. And in fact, in Myers-Briggs terms, none of the functions are the same. So, but as a lot of you know, I have a strong emphasis on socionics, where again, and I have to say this,
Wow. She is taking her time. Let's speed her up a little bit. What do you say? I'm not sure what to make of it yet. But I'd like her to go a little faster. I guess you could say the same thing about me plenty of times. So a lot of times I'm very deliberate. If I'm choosing my words carefully, it's usually for me because I'm applying FE, and it's a slower function for me. I mean, it takes more deliberation for me to correctly do FE than it does for correctly to do TI, because TI is my tool function. So that's, if she is being more deliberative in her words, just because it deliberativeness correlates with me for FE doesn't mean it correlates necessarily with FE, because it may correlate with a third function kind of thing, and I don't know. The point is, she is being very deliberate in what she's saying and choosing her words carefully.
P and the J are flipped in socionics for introverts. So in socionics, an INFJ in Myers-Briggs would be an INFP in socionics, and vice versa. An INFP in Myers-Briggs would be an INFJ in socionics. And that's because for INFPs, their first function, like I said, is introverted feeling, which is a judging function. That being said, I do feel, as at least from my personal experiences with INFPs, they come off a lot more whimsical than INFJs in public especially. All the INFPs that I know, they have like a dreaminess to them, whereas the INFJ can be seen as cold if they're by themselves. So a lot of people, when they see me in person, I don't think they see me as a robot, but they do see me as more of a cold type individual when they're not interacting with me firsthand. Oh, and also INFJs are seen as more mysterious, whereas, like I said, INFPs, they can be seen as mysterious, but it's more in a dreamy, whimsical way. This has a lot to do with introverted feeling.
Is Jen an INFJ?
My Jen.
Her boyfriend is an INFJ.
What is she?
She might be an NTP like me. She might be an INTP like Susie or me. I mean, I'm not an INTP, but I'm an NTP. This girl, the jury's still out. The thing is, the first reason she gave there for distinguishing herself as an INFJ is not a good reason. She said, I'm not perceived as whimsical and dreamy. I'm perceived more as cold. So that's it. It's interesting in that it reflects a perspective on how she's perceived rather than on how she is, which does suggest FE. So let's move forward. The jury's totally still out here. I need to see more.
INFPs, as their primary function, they value so much authenticity and expressing themselves emotionally and really understanding themselves and their values. They don't really care so much about other people's values as, say, an INFJ does. So INFJs are more, because they have extroverted feeling as the creative function, the secondary function in Myers-Briggs. We are more, as extroverted feelers, we're more of the group dynamic. I know for me, I do have a distinction between good and evil, and this is not necessarily an individual thing for me. I think that there's a distinct good and evil, whereas an INFP is more likely to be individual about those notions, and they can.
That's correct.
They're more concerned with what's authentic to the individual. Whereas as an INFJ, if I see that someone's doing something wrong, it doesn't matter who they are, I think they're doing something wrong, because it's more of an objective truth. Whereas, if you want to call it a truth, whereas an introverted feeler, INFP, would see it they're seeing through a subjective lens, especially with extroverted intuition, they're seeing all sides. And this is where INFPs can seem more, I think INFJs have they're better at standing still and kind of being able to just, they don't, as an INFJ, and I know
this is right.
I can't speak for every INFJ, but I don't get bored very easily. I can think about the same topic for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and I'm trying to get to the ultimate depth of something rather than explore all different things at once or jump between different things. I would rather come to a conclusion about something rather than explore different little areas of things. Whereas the INFP is more, they do have more of a tendency to get bored, and they do like to explore a little bit more. They're more jumpy into different things. Hello, Flares. Are you a good girl?
Okay, so first of all, let me just say I'm impressed with her cognitive function understanding, which everything she said pretty much so far has been right. That's not necessarily indicative itself that she's an INFJ. However, it is suggestive that since she understands it so well, who is that? Oh, it's Delilah. That she understands it so well and does seem to be taking a GI-centric approach towards it, that she's more likely to have typed herself correctly just on a pathos level than somebody who would be making much less convincing ideation about the topic. What's going on, Delilah?
Oh, sorry, I don't know if you're going
Do you need money?
or not.
Do I have money? Do I need to give her money?
No.
Yeah.
For what? What am I giving her money for?
No, I'm just wondering if you guys want coffee.
Yeah, I'd love coffee. There's money in my wallet in my dresser. It's inside.
You don't need to keep buying this money. I'm just saying.
Hey, you know what, Kim? We don't need to complain about it when she does, though.
Okay.
Thank you, Delilah. We appreciate it.
We already had coffee this morning out of
I didn't have any coffee.
Well,
I turned on the Keurig.
The Keurig Sip and Sleep?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, we brainstormed up a new product this morning. It's called the Keurig Sip and Sleep. Now, what it is, it's basically a Keurig machine that hangs from your ceiling above your bed. But it has tubes that come down from it with a patented one-sip technology, which is just a U-bend in the tube. So the tube comes down below your chin, and then U-bends back up and then into your mouth. So that way, it's not pouring into your mouth from gravity all the time. You can
We
just
got the one though that also lets you put as much creamer in as you want. There's
a button on the bed.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Yeah.
creamers.
You have a button on the bed for creams and sugars.
Got it.
We're just kidding. We haven't really had one.
We haven't actually drank the coffee, but metaphysically we have.
Yeah.
We enjoyed some delicious Keurig Sip and Sleep coffee.
Yeah, I thought maybe you were being somewhat serious at first.
I think it's a great
We are
idea.
pretty serious.
I think it's a great idea, but I also want a tube going away from the bed to take my pee away, so I can just drink coffee all night in bed
I want
and
you to just go away and take your pee with you. All right. Large miso.
no, I would like something like a latte with a little bit of sugary flavor in it, some kind of sugary flavor.
Get it?
Caramel, vanilla.
What's seasonal? They have peppermint mocha or something like that?
Peppermint mocha with
I want that.
chestnut praline.
We
Wait, chestnut praline?
Chestnut praline is really good.
I'll get that one.
Okay, get
So
me that.
do you want a venti chestnut praline?
Yeah.
Pop?
Yeah.
You don't need to get me one that big.
I'll give you money for that because that starts getting a little expensive.
What do you want?
Just get me the same thing in a smaller size.
A grande? You want a grande?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys like whipped cream on it or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, and also you said we.
I know.
Delilah quit her job at Starbucks and she's now working at a makeup store.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Ulta.
Ulta.
No, I'm so used to Starbucks stuff
She got tired of Starbucks.
It's good
What made
knowledge,
you decide
though,
to quit
to take with you.
Starbucks?
It's fucking annoying. I was really burnt out on it. It's too much stress for a low paying job like that. I was just stressed out all the time. I like the one difference that I was talking about is it's so much more fast paced that the time went by so much faster than at Ulta. Ulta's a lot slower paced. But it's just always stressful and like we were always understaffed and like the manager was a bitch, the new manager, because our old manager was also a bitch, but in a different way, and she
Different
got
bitch.
fired, and then the new manager was,
What'd you get fired for, being a bitch?
Well,
no, like, she was, like, doing shady stuff with labor, like, she would, like, find hours that were, like, that weren't allotted, like, because the hours
And
that
put
are
herself
allotted
down?
for store, what happened?
And put herself down?
No, because she's their manager on salary. So
Oh,
it doesn't
okay.
matter their hours. But she would like text us randomly and be like, hey, you want an 8-hour shift? And I'd be like, sure, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll
she
take an 8-hour
found
shift.
what it was is, you know, they get at the end, like they have to produce in their store. So she got really smart about finding little secretive ways about adding hours to produce a higher volume
'Cause-
store. And
Yeah, well, I think, the point was is that the thing that's shitty about Starbucks is we made a fuckload of money. That's the store that I was at because it was so busy. And they would only schedule us a certain amount of people. And so our drive times would be slower, like you're saying. Customers would be waiting for longer. So she would find these hours that were unscheduled and she would schedule people like that weren't like scheduled in the first place. Like she would text us and like you'd see the schedule would have be like normal and then there would be like days where like people weren't scheduled and then she'd write it in. You know, and like that'd be a matter to do that, but like it was a lot. And then there's another thing that she would do where like let's say I was scheduled 20
she
hours.
manipulated the schedule.
Yeah. Well, like, let's say I was scheduled 20 hours and then like I covered someone's
Sorry,
shift.
type police audience. Continue.
Is it like live right now?
No, but I'm not going to edit it. I'm going to put it up
We
forever.
don't even
Oh,
have
you
to
did.
because she said fuck.
Now you, but see, it probably wouldn't have picked up on her. Now you said it again. It's fine. I'll put it up anyway.
Just to remove it. Just because
I'm not going. It's too much of a hassle to edit it.
But think about it though. If these are like your top hitting people,
No, but
They don't want to hear about her Starbucks.
okay, but listen to me though, which is the whole point of this being a functional medium for me or an idea is that, and this is relevant for I'm sure the type police audience is this conversation right here regarding is that I can do them quickly. It's a one and done. I upload it. I go on to the next one. It's a repeatable, structured thing that retains its interest because it always involves another example of thing. So it's something new that I'm talking about every time, but it's the same topic at the same time. It's the holy grail of YouTube, frankly.
I just think that it would be like a 2-second thing to just cut this clip out, like me walking in and saying hi, coffee.
Yeah, it would, but except for the fact first I have to convert this from FLB to MPG, and then that means I upload it, have YouTube convert it, download it again, put it in Windows Movie Maker. I've got to do the cuts. I've got to re-encode it. At that point, I might as well put in bumpers and things like that. I mean, it's substantially. That's compared to upload it and publish it. You know.
Have a coffee.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I get your point. That she was in a double bind because she was getting dinged for slow wait times, but they were requiring her to be understaffed, and then she was trying to manipulate the system to get around it. And Starbucks didn't like that, and they fired her ass.
Well, it's illegal. It was illegal the way she did it.
Oh, what was she? Why? Who was being illegal lead?
It was like
Because
was
there's
like
so
some.
many,
It was like
like,
labor.
laws.
labor
Oh,
laws.
because if you cross a certain number of hours a week,
Yeah.
then you have to
It's
get
not easy.
insurance
yeah,
or
certain
something like that.
taxes or certain.
Yeah.
It's so crazy being a manager. Like, would you ever want to?
No.
Me neither.
All right.
But I wanted to tell you, your job at Starbucks requires a different manner of attention from you than Ulta does.
Oh yeah.
So it's
I
interesting.
felt hardworking. I felt. a
No,
lot
it
more
is. It's
hardworking
all
at Starbucks.
hardworking, Delilah. But you have to realize,
Starbucks took a lot of SE as
Right.
well as a lot of FE.
right?
Ulta just takes a lot of FE.
Yeah. I felt like a lot like my work was. I don't know though. Also, I didn't. All right, whatever. I'll do it.
Later days, better
Drive
lays.
careful.
Okay.
Type police.
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
That being said, I really admire introverted feeling in general. Sorry about the animals again. They are all three in the room. Fleur, of course, is right here. Henry's right there, and Pumpkin's right here whining. Anyways.
Fleur?
What I'm saying,
Pumpkin.
but
And
I
Pumpkin.
think it was something on the lines
Let's go
of
back and find out there. So this is kind of informative too.
Yeah.
INFP again. They are all three in the room. Fleur, of course, is right here. Henry's right there, and Pumpkin's right here whining.
Fleur, Henry, and Pumpkin.
Anyways.
I would say those are more INFJ names than they are INFP names for animals. INFP's name for animals might be a little like
Wacky.
it just those sound like those are excellent pet names.
These sound like names I would come up with.
Yeah, they do. But I don't think she's an SI Dom. I don't know. What do you think of? Like, what's your general vibe from her?
I like her.
You like her? Okay, well, let's proceed.
She's not she's not over the top. She's just I like her. She's watchable.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm saying, but I think it was something on the lines of INFP boredom or oh no, I admire introverted feeling because I always thought of it when I was younger, especially before I got into typology and stuff, and I didn't realize that these people were introverted feelers, but looking back they were. Or they are, is I would always see introverted feeling as having their own thing going on. There's one girl that I have in mind, we used to be really good friends in high school, and she was an INFP, or she is an INFP, and she was very much into Japanese culture and anime and drawing and all the stuff, and I found very admirable the fact that she was able to have all these interests, and she had her own thing going on, just like how I've said this about my sister in ISTJ. She also is a very independent thinker, and that's what I associate with introverted feeling. They don't care, I think, whereas I was always a people pleaser, and I'm not saying that INFPs aren't that way, because INFPs really.
So, again, I want to draw attention to how careful she is. She's very careful in what she's choosing to say, and she's very attentive to the FE implications. But Kim, I wanted to ask you a couple questions. Number one, what do you think about her shirt? And number two, what about her haircut?
She's very she's very unique. She's got her own little thing going on.
Okay. So,
No, I'm saying like she's cute.
yeah. So, the thing is, the reason I asked the question about the clothes and stuff is I think most people would probably agree that the shirt and the haircut are INFP style.
Yes.
So, INFPs do tend to be more quirky or arty or something. Not necessarily, but this correlates well with INFP fashion.
They kind of beat to their own drum.
Right. So, I would.
know a girl that looks just like her, Amanda. She's
But
my client.
but is she that FE careful? The girl you know?
No, she's an INFP.
P. This girl I think is an INFJ, but I'm not 100% convinced because I just like to be skeptical, I guess. Let's watch a little bit more. But like Kim, I like her too. And I like INFJs, so that would make sense. I like INFPs too, but I don't feel that supervisor vibe from her
No, she's not intrusive.
that I would feel from an INFP. I would feel a supervisor vibe from an INFP because The reason is, with my polar FI and their dominant FI, INFPs are the supervisor of ENTPs, and we feel like scrutinized by them. Like they're judging, they're exasperatedly correcting us on our bad FI all the time.
Really do care about others, and they're empathetic in a different way than INFJs. Whereas INFJs feel the feelings of the room, and they're good listeners in their own way. INFPs are also very good listeners, but they're more individual with their feelings. And they're able to distinguish so many different feelings, whereas for me, as an INFJ, and I've definitely done this in romantic relationships, where I try to conceptualize it in my mind, and I always, doesn't matter, and I'm not saying other types don't do this, but I literally will look at the entire future, and again, I'm not a psychic, but I will look at the future completely in this singular line, and I may see different ways of in which it can change, but I see.
The thing I want to draw attention to here are the disclaimers, the what are they called? The qualifications, the qualifying all the time, like where she goes, this, and I'm not saying other types don't do this, but because they do too some, but and drawing her distinctions carefully. She's doing TI defense. It's like, I want to make sure I don't overstate my claims so that I'm not vulnerable to TI critique. That's consistent with third slot TI. It's potentially consistent with second slot TI as well. But third slot TI is going to be more defensively careful like that because it's less offensively capable. But across the board, I'm very impressed with her analysis and her understanding of cognitive functions, which suggests intuitive. Like typically, a sensor is going to be more interested in the applications of cognitive functions than the explication of cognitive functions. So that strongly suggests intuitive. I'm not getting a huge SI vibe from her. I'm getting a big NI vibe from her. So I would say INFJ seems, I'm getting ready to say confirmed, but let's watch a little bit more. And Kim, you were going to say, what were you going to say before I... You don't remember? Okay. Sorry about that. Cut you off. Do you think she's like you?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think she's like Lightbulb?
No.
Interesting. Okay, let's continue.
See this individual in this way, whereas an INFJ kind of has, they don't really have something that they're necessarily looking for. They're just looking for certain feelings from people. And they love it when people truly express themselves and they're able to let out emotions. Like I said, I have problems, especially in romantic relationships, especially from the get-go, really realizing how I feel about someone. And very rarely do I know right away. It's something that I have to really think about and realize. And I know by doing this, I have let go people that may have been good for me, but I was so much in my head, whereas an INFP is very in tune with their emotions. Another thing about INFPs is their tertiary function, introverted.
Let me just pause here to note that Kim's been nodding along with everything that this girl says here, as though she identifies with it.
I do.
Now, the question then becomes, is this just a second slot FE similarity, or is this girl potentially an ISFJ? Do you think she seems like an ISFJ?
Could be, yeah. I mean...
Okay. I return to my previous statement about her being...
I mean, does she give you kind of a Jewel vibe?
She does give me a bit of a Jewel vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's continue. You've got me thinking now, Cam.
I find INFPs more than INFJs especially are very sentimental people, and they will keep little objects and they have emotional attachments to things, and they're able to really conceptualize vast worlds of detail that is not as natural for an INFJ that's very broadly minded with introverted intuition.
But think about this, Kim. Imagine this girl saying these words about Aaron. You know, like, okay, so Aaron is a very whatever kind of guy. And then you would say, like, we went over to his whatever family's house, okay? And then blah 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 blah, right? That's how Jewel would proceed down a story. And the point that I'm making is that Jewel would say a thing, an idea, and then present an example of it. And you're the same way.
Yes.
She's right now talking about something that doesn't lend itself to giving examples like that. So that's not the fact that she's not giving examples is because she's not really talking about somebody in her life and something that she's, you know, like, she's not talking about her boyfriend Steve and something that she can give examples about. She's talking about ideas and being general. So the point is, it's not definitive that she's not giving examples here that she's not an ISFJ. But the fact that she's talking instead of about things that she can give examples for, and instead she's talking about this general abstract thing that's not conducive to examples, that in and of itself to me suggests INFJ. If she is an INFJ, I would suggest that she's a particularly deft one, because Kimberly's phony meter usually goes off with INFJs, and it's not seeming to go off here. It's like ISFJ second slot FE views INFJ second slot FE as phony, which is funny, but it seems that way to me. That's what my experience has been consistent with that claim in regards to Kimberly. That's her response to INFJs usually.
So, also when it comes to things, I do have sentimental things, and I have emotional attachments or emotional feelings for certain things, but I can easily get rid of things, whereas it's a lot harder for an INFP to get rid of something. My battery is actually dying on my camera, so hopefully I can finish up this video. I definitely...
Alright, that's another NI suggestion there, because Kim, do you think it's easy to get rid of things? No, you do not. She's shaking her head no. So that's one distinction that can be drawn there. But let's proceed. We only got a few minutes left in this video, so let's just watch the rest of it, and we'll she's not going to the slammer tonight, that's for sure. She's not in egregious violation of anything. And even if she's somehow mistyped herself as an INFJ from an ISFJ, it's a perfectly reasonable mistake to make, because there's lots of indicators that INFJ is correct. So she's walking home a free lady tonight.
I want to make more videos about INFPs, and I definitely want to have some of my INFP friends come on the channel and talk about their experience. But because my camera is dying, I just want to say that I really enjoy INFPs, and I admire the FI, the sense that they're able to be themselves no matter what, whereas I have always struggled to be that way, and it's really become little things I have tried to become more defiant towards, whereas still I'm considered not very defiant at all, and I'm not saying that INFPs are defiant, but they don't go with the norm. Another thing about INFPs, when you see them, they're more of eccentric type people, or at least seemingly. INFJs are more able to blend in, and that's just not what INFPs are wanting to do, unless they're very suppressed or oppressed. Also, something that I found, and this is just maybe a unique insight that I have had from my personal experience, but a lot of INFPs that I know were involved in Model United Nations, or a good significant amount, and I did find that the INFPs that I knew were very eloquent, or at least tried to be, and they were very knowledgeable on subjects. And I found them to be, whereas I kind of struggled to sound eloquent in situations, they were better at to the outside source, I mean the outside world, and this might be more of a developed INFP, I think INFPs can come off as very intellectual types, kind of like the like a professor type person, and I find this very interesting. I think they give very good advice, at least for me, and because our cognitive functions are so different, or what we value and stuff, it is very easy for INFJs and INFPs to get along because there's not really this, we're coming at things at different angles, but it seems very similar. So that being said, of course I definitely want to post more about the INFP personality, and I definitely didn't say everything I wanted to say in this video, but if you are an INFP, I hope I did this justice, and let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in my next video. By the way, I'm wearing this because I felt like it was kind of INFP-esque. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the comments. Thank you. Bye.
Wow.
Wow, she's good. She's good. Wow. I'm thoroughly impressed across the board with this person. She understands cognitive functions really well. She pulled some sort of like FE meta trick on me there. That's just brilliant. And fucking hats off. You should join the Type Police force.
I agree.
All right. Thanks
Collaborate
for watching.
with host Eric.
Yeah.